There's a story that many of us may remember, but we actually aren't sure how to read it. It's The Little Prince. We often think of it as a sweet story, gentle, even a little bit naive. But that description is actually more about us and our culture than about the story itself. Because the little prince is not naive, he is perceptive. If you don't remember the story, and I had to look it up as well, here is the essence of it. A pilot crashes in the desert and he meets a small boy who asks very disarming questions and sees what adults around him cannot. Throughout the story, the little prince encounters grown-ups who are obsessed with numbers, status, certainty, and control. They miss what matters. Not because it's hidden, but because they no longer know how to see it anymore. The most famous line in the book is also the most misunderstood. What is essential is invisible to the eye. That line isn't a sort of poetic sentiment, it's actually a perceptual diagnosis. None of us see often what is most essential. But neuroscience can give us some language for this right now. Our brain systems that track context, meaning, tone, and coherence tend to be quieter than our analytic systems. They don't shout, they don't interpret, and they don't wait. And modern culture has trained us to privilege what is fast and certain and measurable and impressive. And in doing so, we've learned to distrust what arrives slowly, subtly, or without a ready explanation. This isn't a failure, rather, it's a retraining opportunity. In leadership, this is showing up all the time right now. The one who names a deeper pattern may be overlooked. The one who senses what's forming before it's visible is told to wait for more data. Person who speaks simply and profoundly is mistaken for someone who hasn't processed enough. Simplicity and subtlety is not the absence of intelligence. Often it is the result of it. The intelligence that is emerging right now in our world does not look like mastery from the old sense. Rather, it looks like a subtle attunement. It listens before it speaks, notices before it acts, and it trusts coherence over control. That is not a regression. We are maturing. However, it requires us to unlearn the reflex to dismiss what does not arrive loudly. If you've ever known something long before you could explain it, if you felt the truth of a situation before you had language, if you've been told, implicitly or explicitly, that your way of knowing was too soft, too intuitive, too hard to justify, this story isn't asking you to become something different. It is a reminder of what you already see. I want to close with a simple gaze practice to support this kind of perception, of noticing what is most important. Let your gaze gently lower downward toward the ground in front of you or toward your heart area. No effort, just softening. This downward gaze supports embodiment, relational awareness, and a felt sense of what's inside. Stay here. And as you notice and breathe, what do you know? What is most important right now? Especially when you stop trying to sound certain. In the next episode, we're going to look at what happens when perception essentially collides with our own social and relational intelligence. But for now, let yourself linger here. What is most important, especially when you allow yourself the liberty to no longer be certain?